Light-independent reaction, the Calvin cycle. So in the Calvin cycle, this takes place in the stroma, the liquid part of the chloroplast. And you might also see it in some textbooks as being called a carbon dioxide fixation cycle, because carbon dioxide from carbon dioxide is fixed into organic substances. And it makes triose phosphate and ribulose biphosphate, and triose phosphate can be used to make organic substances like glucose. And there's a few steps in the cycle, and it needs ATP and hydrogen ions to keep going. And the reactions are linked in a cycle, which means ribulose biphosphate gets regenerated. So, carbon dioxide is combined with ribulose biphosphate to form 2 molecules of glycerate 3 phosphate. So this is the first, I say part of the cycle, but it's a cycle. But the first bit we'll concentrate on is carbon dioxide will enter the leaf through the stomata and diffuse into the stroma of the chloroplast. And that carbon dioxide, which is 1 carbon, will be combined with 5-carbon ribulose biphosphate. So the carbon dioxide combines with ribulose biphosphate, because ribulose biphosphate has 5 carbons, carbon dioxide has 1 carbon. It forms an unstable 6-carbon compound, which then rapidly breaks down into 2 molecules of a 3-carbon compound called glycerate 3 phosphate. And we need Rubisco for this. So ribulose biphosphate carboxylase, or shortened to Rubisco, catalyzes the reaction between carbon dioxide and ribulose biphosphate. Then the next bit we'll look at is how ATP and reduced NADP are required for the reduction of GP into triose phosphate. So, after we've got the 2 molecules of glycerate 3 phosphate, ATP that was given from the light-dependent reaction provides energy to convert the GP into a different 3-carbon compound, triose phosphate. And this reaction also requires hydrogen ions, which come from reduced NADP, which is also known as NADPH. So it gives off its H, and the NADP is recycled, and that can go back to the light-dependent reaction again. And then triose phosphate can then be converted into useful organic compounds like glucose. However, most of it is actually regenerated. Most of it turns into ribulose biphosphate again. It regenerates ribulose biphosphate. So 5 out of every 6 molecules of TP produced in the cycle aren't actually used to make sugars, but they're used to regenerate ribulose biphosphate. And regenerating ribulose biphosphate uses the rest of the ATP that was produced in the light-dependent reaction. So that is the Calvin cycle. You've got carbon dioxide, which is 1 carbon, joining with the 5-carbon ribulose biphosphate, catalyzed by Rubisco. That turns into a 6-carbon compound, but that quickly splits into 2 molecules of glycerate 3 phosphate, which are 3 carbons each. Then 2 ATP goes in, and that's converted into 2 ADP and PI. 2 reduced NADP are used to give off their hydrogen, and they regenerate the NADP to go back to the light-dependent reaction. And those processes convert the 2 glycerate 3 phosphate into 2 triose phosphate. And some of those triose phosphates can be used to make glucose, but actually most of it is used to regenerate ribulose biphosphate, and that requires a molecule of ATP, which will be hydrolyzed into ADP and PI. And the TP and the GP that are made in the Calvin cycle can be converted into other organic substances like glucose. So the Calvin cycle is a starting point for making the organic substances a plant needs. So triose phosphate and glycerate 3-phosphate molecules are used to make carbohydrates. So hexose sugars like glucose are made by joining two triose phosphate molecules together, and larger carbohydrates like sucrose, starch, cellulose are made by joining hexose sugars together. Lipids are made using glycerol, which is synthesized from triose phosphate, and fatty acids, which are synthesized from glycerate 3-phosphate. And then you've got amino acids. Some amino acids are made from glycerate 3-phosphate. And the Calvin cycle needs to turn 6 times just to make 1 glucose. So in 3 turns of the cycle, 6 molecules of triose phosphate are made because 2 molecules of TP are made for every 1 carbon dioxide molecule used. 5 out of 6 of these TP molecules are used to regenerate ribulose biphosphate. This means that for 3 turns of the cycle, only 1 TP is produced that's used to make a glucose. A glucose has 6 carbons though, so 2 TP molecules are needed to form 1 glucose. This means the cycle must turn 6 times to produce 2 TP that can be used to make 1 glucose. 6 turns of the cycle need 18 ATP and 12 reduced NADP from the light-dependent reaction. And then just some past exam questions. Describe how the products of the light-dependent reaction are used in the light-independent reaction to produce triose phosphate. Do not include the role of ribulose biphosphate in your answer. So ATP and reduced NADP. ATP provides energy so that GP can be reduced to triose phosphate. The next one, describe the light-independent reaction. So carbon dioxide combines with ribulose biphosphate. This produces 2-glycerate 3-phosphate using the enzyme Rubisco. GP then gets reduced to triose phosphate using reduced NADP and using energy from ATP. Then triose phosphate is converted to glucose or hexose, or you can say that ribulose biphosphate is regenerated. And also it does accept marks in a suitable diagram. I always say for a long mark answer, I would draw out the cycle first and then explain it, so it makes it easier. So that is the light independent reaction of photosynthesis.